What's up guys, Kizzy here, back with another video. This time we got the track guide for Deep Forest Raceway in Group 3 machinery in Daily Race C this week. As we know, Deep Forest is quite a very common track used in the daily races. We see it once every 2 months, perhaps once every month sometimes, but it is usually a track where a lot of people put competitive laps because it's a very well-known track by the community. So the leaderboards are going to be very competitive. But this time I'm bringing you my lap guide. Even though it's not one of the quickest compared to the leaderboard, it's still a very good lap to actually review how to do the track and where to find your braking points and references in this track. So let's jump back into the track and see how I did my lap. So for this particular track, I'm using the Alfa 4C, as you can see from this camera right here, chase cam. Some people are using the Viper, which has a lot more straight line speed, but it's more weighty, more heavy, and more understeery. Another good option instead of the 4C could be the RC set or the 650S. Those are also good options if you want to put a lap out. But so far, the dominant cars in this leaderboard are either the Dodge Viper, the BMW Z4, or the Alfa 4C. So let's go into the lap. And let's start going all the way through the main straight, heading into the finish line. So we're going to cross the finish line at 160 miles an hour. And then our first braking marker is going to be right at the point that we're about to cross the start of this rumble strip right here. So once that entrance of the rumble strip disappears from my screen, I'm going to pump the brakes all the way through 100% and then trail brake all the way through the left-hander, which is that very big leg sweeper at turn 1. So we're going to trail brake all the way through. By this point in the corner, I'm still holding the brake a little bit to get more rotation, and then I'm going to release the brake to coast. And then my accelerating marker out of the corner is going to be this yellow barrier right here. As soon as I see that in my screen, I'm going to shift up to third and then accelerate out of the corner at 100%, keeping the steering wheel at a good angle to maintain grip and not go beyond the track limits and understeer outside of the track. So we're going to go all the way in third gear towards this. Then you want to start turning towards the next apex before you cross the 50-meter board. This is because if you go past the rumble strip, then at the time that you have to hit the next apex, you're going to be way too wide in the track to actually follow an ideal racing line, and that could lose you a little bit of time and angle to take the SS, which is a very technical part of the track in Deep Forest. So before you hit the 50-meter board, you want to start already turning and chasing towards the next apex, which is going to be on your left-hand side. So you're going to cross your car all the way through the curb. As you can see, both of my wheels are actually putting the curb in between the car. And as soon as I find that barrier that you see up in front after the turning signal on your left-hand side, that's your point where you're going to start steering towards the next apex. And you're going to release the throttle so that you can coast the car over that next apex on the right-hand side. Another option is that you can adapt the brake to get a little extra rotation. I personally just release the throttle and coast the car over. Sorry about that. And once I go past the apex, I accelerate out of that apex in fourth gear. So then I'm going to adapt the brakes right before I'm about to cross the gray patch. Once the grass turns into the gray concrete on the left-hand side, I'm going to adapt the brakes and trail brakes ever so slightly towards the left-hand apex that you see where the bumps are. And then you're going to turn the car. You're going to try to keep the car in the middle of the track by this point. And then once you cross again the gray patch on your left-hand side and it turns into grass, you're going to brake again to aim towards the right-hand apex. And once you cross that apex, at this point you can upshift into third gear, and then you can exit out of the corner at 100%. So we're going to cross the tunnel. Then you're going to leave the tunnel. And once you finish crossing the rumble strip on your left-hand side, at that point you're going to tap the brakes and trail brake throughout all this right-hander. You're going to downshift to second, and the moment where you see the entrance of the tunnel, that's when you're going to start accelerating out of the corner in third gear. So we're gonna go out of the tunnel. Now you gotta be careful at this point, because if you go beyond the line, the white line that you see right in front of you, and you actually end up putting the car on the gray concrete, that's a track limit penalty, potentially 1 second. So be careful to keep the car within track limits at this point. Then try to maintain as tight of a line as possible throughout this corner, right heading into the downhill towards the bridge, because if you go beyond that, you can actually lose a little bit of time. So you're going to try to aim towards this apex, and then you're going to see the two bollards, the two green bollards right on your right hand side. The moment that you cross the first bollard and are about to hit the second bollard, that's when I tap the brakes again, and then I try to go straight line towards the left hand apex that you see right there. I maintain the car in fourth gear. Downshifting into third could give you a little bit more rotation, but the upshift back into fourth is actually a little bit of a loss of time. So it's better to just keep the car in fourth. And then we're going to go and power out of the corner as soon as you hit that apex. And then you're going to steer the car all the way towards the right-hand side. And right before you hit the entrance of this bridge, you're going to hit the brakes again, downshift all the way to first. And then the time where you're about to cross the barrier that you see, the wood barrier that you see between the two left-hand signals, that's a good accelerating marker out of the corner. And I'm going to double upshift into third gear to exit out of the corner. Now, very, very careful when you hit the apex on the left-hand side, because there's a little grass patch that could actually spin you out of the track if you end up clipping that. So make sure that your left side wheels are only hitting the apex and not the grass. You're going to power out in third, and then you're going to keep the car right at the curb. Make sure not to go beyond that, because that could be a track limit as well. And then this is just the back straight. This is going to be a very quick back straight run all the way into the hairpin, which is to be the most technical corner of the track. And the moment where you're going to actually brake is when you see the scaffold right on your right hand side. The moment that it disappears out of your screen, that's when you want to start braking towards the hairpin. And you're going to brake fully in a straight line, and then you're going to trail brake into the hairpin apex. And you're going to try to hit mostly for like a little bit of a late apex, and then try to just round the wheels all over the curb. And then you're going to upshift into second gear. And the moment where you see the stance right in front of you, that's when you want to power out in second out of this corner. Make sure that you keep the car very well straight and tune in very well into the force feedback of your wheel, so that you don't actually force your car into a snap oversteer. Let the car very slowly return to its original position. And then you're just going to hit the main straight all the way down to the finish line, and that's going to be good for a 126.5. So now let's look at the lap from the perspective of me at the time of actually driving and doing the lap. And I'm following the fastest 4C Ghost that I would find in the leaderboard at this time, which was about a 26.1. So turn one, braking right at the start of the rumble strip, trail brake into the left-hand apex, and then power out of the corner in third. Pretty similar to the Ghost at this point. Then we're going to go through the technical section where I only coast. I didn't tap the brake. As you can see, the Ghost did tap the brakes, and perhaps that allowed him to take a little bit of a tidier line throughout the section. But for the most part, I think we're finishing a very similar time in Sector 1. Trail brake into the right-hand corner, and then power out in third out of the tunnel. Go into the downhill section, little dab in the brakes, power out in fourth, brake at the start of the bridge, downshift to first, and power out in third out of this corner, and then heading into the back straight. For the most part, right there, we're still very close to the Ghost, which is at a 0.2 offset in the settings, and I'll have another video explaining how I use the Ghost settings to my advantage doing time trial. Final corner in the hairpin, braking right at the end of the scaffold, trail brake into the hairpin apex, almost a little bit of a snap oversteer, but we managed to recover and keep the momentum into the main straight once again, heading into the finish line, keeping very tight on the left side so we don't lose any time going out wide. And as you know, we're going to cross the line right here with a 26.5. So that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in for another one of my track guides. If you really enjoyed this type of content and you want to see more track guides over the future, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my channel so that you can follow on my newest videos, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.